Hello, everyone. I'm Lynn with Run It Back here with Dart Monkeys, one of the teams that competed in the Game Changers Academy in February and made it to the finals. So, Dart Monkeys, welcome and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
So, would you mind giving a brief introduction to your team and the players that make up your team?
Who,
So
who's,
I'll go
I
ahead
don't
and
know who's
start
to answer.
then. Sorry for cutting in on him. Anyways, I'll go ahead and start. So, my name is Zoe. I'm the coach of the team. And here with us today are four of the members. We're missing one who is equally important, Jude. Um, and so the team is Dart Monkeys. You definitely got the name right. And we're still working on the logo because the one we have on Twitter and things like that comes from the game Bloons. And we've decided that even though we love that one and we love our plushie, we've decided that we probably want to move away for that because of like copyright and trademark issues that could arise in the future. But we are a NA Game Changers team. We're looking to compete in bigger events in the future that are outside of Game Changers, but right now we're focusing primarily on the Game Changers events because we've only been together for about 3 weeks. Um, And yeah, I'll go ahead and let all of the players introduce themselves. But why don't we go Autumn and then SK and then Isla and then Marissa? That way we don't run into too many people talking over each other. So Autumn, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Autumn. I shoot darts primarily, so I mostly play Sova initiator roles. I'll flex to Senti on occasion. Um, I IGL, and I'm really happy to be playing with these lovely, talented individuals on Dart Monkeys.
Oh, howdy, I'm SK. I play Sky and KO and Viper. Yeah.
Who's next?
I'm Isla, and I entry for Dirt Monkeys. I play Jet and Race so far, and I've played Sky twice. I'm really excited to see where my journey goes with this team. I love them all so much.
Uh, I'm Marissa. I'm like our primary controller. I play X. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the one player not with us today is Jude, and they are kind of our flex player. Like they'll kind of fill the hole that we need because we've got like our Sova initiator, we've got SK as like the secondary duelist slash initiator, main flasher, and then a little bit of flex too. Isla as our duelist and Marissa as controller. So Jude just kind of picks up whatever we need. So they were really helpful on that.
Got it. And where did the name Dart Monkeys come from?
Oh, I have a Dart Monkey plushie. It's really cute.
It
I
is.
take pictures of it. And yeah.
So just the consensus that it's adorable, and so the team was just like, let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So only together for 3 weeks. That's amazing. So in the early life of a roster, what kind of things are going through your mind as priority to kind of make this a long-term thing?
I could, I, I could answer that.
You got this, Autumn. You
Y'all.
got this.
Um, well, for us, there are a few things. I think the most important is clear communication, availability, and like just kind of addressing problems as they come up. We don't want to let anything boil over. We don't want to let anyone if someone is uncomfortable with something or like we have an issue, we bring it up right away, we address it, we talk about it. We're very open with each other. We can hold each other accountable. It's a really good like communicative environment. And That has helped us a lot, just like overcome our obstacles and grow really fast. I think the other thing that's helped us a lot and will help us continually grow is we've been practicing for like 6 hours a day from like 5 to 11 p.m. EST. And I think just also like the hours will help us stick together because we can work through these things like every day and we're improving every day.
Okay. So, and again, with just being together for 3 weeks, does that mean you got together like right before the previous Sakura Cup?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a week before, I think,
Wow, that's amazing.
or
And
maybe less.
okay. So just like shortly right before Sakura Cup, and then you all did quite well in the Sakura Cup. And what made you all want to continue to like stick together to compete then in Game Changers Academy?
So one of the reasons, less so for sticking together to compete in Game Changers Academy, more just sticking together in general, right? Like that seems to be one of the common issues in the scene, unfortunately, is you got one event and then, things happen and a team, has its reasons and they may disband or they fall apart. And I think most of us here have experienced that one time or another with previous teams. Um, I think if you were to look at everyone's VLR, except maybe SK's and Isla's, you can probably find a long list of other teams that, we've been a part of. And that can get kind of tiresome. I don't think there's many people who are like, oh, my team just disbanded. I'm back on the market. I'm so excited, right? Like, being looking for team is very frustrating. It can be very like tiring. It can fill you with anxiety. It can just kind of make you wonder like what's next. And I think part of the reasons Dart Monkeys got together, and I wasn't here at the start, so I can't say officially, but it's likely because everyone is tired of the process of teams falling apart, the process of teams breaking up, and like trialing for a new team, and then maybe the goals don't align. And then you trial for another team, and then the goals don't align, and then you make it, and then you get knocked out of groups, and the team disbands because it's not the finish that everyone wanted. Um, so less so, why did we decide to stick together after Sakura Cup, which I wasn't there for, by the way. But stick together after Sakura Cup into GCA. It's more like I think the team just made a decision to stick together, period. People don't want to pursue their own personal options, and we just want to stay together and grow as a team, as Dart Monkeys, not, as like Autumn or SK or Isla or anything individual, Marissa, Jude, myself. So that's really our big goal. We went into GCA with absolutely no expectations. I remember actually, I think it was like the week before GCA. I was talking to the team and I asked them, do you guys want to win GCA or do you want to aim for GC4? And I was hoping everyone would say that we want to aim for the Open coming up here in the end of, March, because, that's kind of the big event of the year, right? 2022 Game Changers, Series Open 1 or whatever it's called now.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of just went in with Game Changers Academy with nothing really set in mind. We hadn't really prepared too much for the tournament, and it definitely showed in some of our matches that we were a little unpolished. But we're not going to let that happen again in the main event later this month. But I've kind of lost what I was saying, unfortunately, but we basically just went into Game Changers Academy with no real goal, and it wasn't going to affect the team. If we came out of the top 16 as the number 16 team, there was no threat to the team disbanding. And if we came out number 1, team probably wasn't going to disband either. We finished, I think, second in the tournament, which wasn't too bad, all things considering, because we ended up playing with the last minute sub for day 1, and then we had subs for day 2 and 3. So it was a bit of experience. We went from kind of what we saw in scrims, which was more organized, to literally bugging the tournament. And you know, it was a little rough, but you know, we made it to the finals.
Yeah, I was gonna say, from having limited expectations to making it to the finals, that's a huge jump. So, um, just general reactions from the team about you all being able to make it into the finals against Polaris.
It was awesome, but I was not able to be there, which kind of sucks, but it's okay.
Missed you, SK.
Missed you.
It it was fun. Again, it wasn't like um we all knew we were capable of it. It wasn't like, oh crap, we're like in finals versus Polaris. This is so unexpected. Like we've all had tourney experience before. We were confident in our individual skills, and like even though we were just pugging it, we had like acquired some game sense, and like the three of us that had played together and scrimmed together, like we were able to coordinate some stuff, and like I don't know, we had uh a bit of confidence going in, and like obviously like the way that series ended was kind of devastating, but um again like that tourney, all things considered, was just kind of us like getting experience, and like yeah, it wasn't like us I lost my train of thought, but we it was not our primary focus at the time, so I think that allowed us to all perform better because none of us were like nervous or anxious, right? When there's zero expectations or zero things you're trying to like um live up to, you can kind of just like play in the zone. And that's almost like more scary for other teams when like the team you're playing against has nothing to lose.
Right. Yeah, I have heard that before. And it was still an impressive showing because Polaris has been together since like the Game Changers Series 3 last year. And then here you are, a new roster of 3 weeks. And then you also had to deal with a lot of subs. So that I thought that was an impressive finish. So with with Zoe, you said that you came on board just for or just since the Game Changers Academy. In my recollection, you also were previously a player. So what led you to want to pursue the coaching role?
There's a few things. So, uh, number one would be I've known a majority of these players for a very long time. You know, me and Autumn, we have been friends for I don't even know how long. It feels much longer than I'm sure it actually has been. But I ran into her when I was playing on my silver account, and she was smurfing in the 5 stack of people from another, you know, game changer team at the time, and they took my RR. Um, but anyways, I've known Autumn pretty much since then. We've gotten a lot closer. You know, a few months ago, and we've trialed for the same teams. We've, you know, been a part of the same team for a while. And then I managed Whiteout, which Autumn was the IGL for. Um, I've known Marissa and Isla for a while from KVL and just mutual friends. And then, you know, I was managing Whiteout, and we had the departure of a couple players, just deciding that you know that the team maybe didn't quite match their interests. So you know we had to find new players, and that is where I met SK. I was managing the team, but also trialing for other teams at the time. Because at the time, you know, my heart was, you know, I want to compete, I want to play, and then, you know, on one of the trial servers, I saw someone named SK, and I was like, I've never heard of this player, you know, I don't know who she is, so you know, I right clicked her Discord, and then I clicked on her Twitter, and then that took me to a stream of a lot of things, because SK makes content, so I watched some of her Twitch VODs. I saw some of her YouTube, and then I sent it to Whiteout and said we should trial this player. Um, and then even though things with Whiteout didn't quite work out, the team ended up disbanding. You know, before we came up with a new finalized roster. You know, I believe that's where Autumn and SK met, and that's probably how they ended up on Dart Monkeys. But to how I ended up coaching, it's just, sometimes when you're looking for team and you're trialing for teams, it gets kind of tiresome. You don't always mesh well with the people that you trial with or you play with. And I saw an opportunity to come on board here at Dart Monkeys with some of my really good friends, so I knew there'd be no issue with kind of basically just being unhappy with the people that I'm surrounded by. I'm also unfortunately trying to get over a wrist injury. I don't know if it's an RSI or carpal tunnel or what, but I haven't played the game in about 2 weeks or so. So that kind of also makes that decision a little easier. But I just think that I had reached a point where I'd realized that I wasn't necessarily the best player, but I knew I still had a lot to offer to teams and to the scene.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that about the injury, but it looks like you were able to at least still provide value to teams and especially people that you're friends with. So that's cool. In terms of still being a free agent team, is there any other support mechanisms that you think could be available to help grow free agent teams and get them into sign teams? Anything that like Riot could do, or just some sort of system that could be used for support?
Not it.
I have an answer, but I don't know how true it is or how much of this is just me wanting it as a player. But I feel like because there's so little tourneys, sometimes there can be teams that are really good, but they can't really exemplify it because maybe they get like low seeding and they get like an unfortunate group, or like they go 2-1 and have like lower round differential or lower seeding, and they get eliminated in groups before they can showcase what they really have to show like the scene in playoffs. So if there were like weeklies or more frequent events, maybe so people could really just like showcase where they stand and orgs could be more confident in a purchase. Like if there's just like more talent showcasing, I feel like orgs would like be willing to sign teams sooner, and maybe teams wouldn't have to play like more officials and grind out as much if they already were at the level of these signed teams, right, to get signed. Maybe that would help. It would also just help with like the scene's development, because more tourneys equals more experience. But honestly, it's fine because we can just play in like co-ed events too. So I don't know.
And I have an answer to that question as well. Kind of what Autumn alluded to. I feel like there's a lack of events. And even the ones that we do have, like I don't know too much, who's in charge of everything. I know obviously the main game changer ones, Riot kind of is, like leading the picture, and then they have someone actually run the tournament. But I don't know necessarily with, say, for example, Game Changers Academy, whether or not that's something that Riot has a lot of say in, or they're just permitting Galorants to kind of use the name. And because I know Galorants is the one doing all the the production, the tournament organization, and
Right.
all of that, which can make it kind of tough on them, because I don't know how much you followed the last Game Changers Academy, but even though we had 16 teams, there were about 30 registered, 27 that were fully registered, and we couldn't get the 32 to kind of open up for another 16 teams. So, between December, we didn't have a January tournament, and this February one, I mean, there's literally about 14, 15 teams that couldn't even show themselves, and that, we couldn't compete against and kind of show how we stack up against the other teams. So, bigger events would be good. I think just more support from Riot, so that if Galorants is the one kind of running these events, that it can reach the player limit for the number of teams that we have, so we can actually see all these teams And just more prizing, I think, from Riot would help too, because a lot of the reasons why teams disband is either results or just money. I mean, like we're
Lack of
practicing
funds.
we're practicing 25 hours a week on top of, whatever else we have outside of Valorant, on top of, just playing Valorant anyway. But, like there are bills, there are costs in, Valorant. Like, how are we going to win if we can't buy the Gaia's Vengeance bundle, right? I mean, like you can't expect us to win the next tournament without that.
Hmm.
So, the fact that prizing only in GCA goes to the top two teams, it's tough for that third and fourth team that were like, right there, and maybe it came down to the difference of a single bomb defusal. Could have been the difference between making prizing and ending third. So it's it's hard. Basically, we don't have a lot of tournaments. It's very hard that even in the tournaments we do have, to get to prizing, and then it's just hard to kind of showcase yourself as a talent, as a team, and kind of show what you have due to the limited support that we have from Riot. I do love the support we have, though. I mean, the game changer scene in general is amazing, and you can see how it's kind of blown up worldwide and how it's created these opportunities for these signed teams to basically be signed, right? If there's no game changer uh, bracket, we would probably have a lot less signed teams that there currently are in the scene. So, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Riot isn't doing a good job. It's just, unfortunately, they're probably going to have to be the ones that step up to create those opportunities, because Galorants isn't going to be, making, the funding for this, because it's a free tournament. Knights, holds their Sakura Cup occasionally, but they're busy running their other tournament scenes. And there haven't been too many other TOs that have kind of stepped up and had a tournament. Granted, we just found out about the Team Liquid one that's coming up
Right.
later this month, the Eve Ascension one, which we will be playing in. But if we could see more of these small tournaments pop up, it would definitely offer more support to to our team, but also to all the other free agent teams that are just trying to show who they are and say hello.
Got it. So more tournaments, more opportunities for exposure. You did mention, so Galorants is well known for running Game Changers Academy and other sort of initiatives, and Knights as well. I was curious if anyone could elaborate more on the opportunities that Galorants has provided, as well as I know that they have a like a KVL kind of opportunity where players can do like matchups once or twice a week or something like that. So could you just touch on what those two orgs have been able to do for the scene, and maybe if, as you were saying earlier, maybe other orgs could model after that to provide more opportunities?
I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and speak for Galorants, and Autumn, why don't you take KVL so
Okay.
people can hear a few of the other voices. But as far as Galorants goes, I've been a member of Galorants for almost a year, so not quite the longest tenure compared to some of the the founding members that have been there forever. But Galorants has been a big part of my development, and I'm sure it has been the same for a lot of other players. But they do a lot. They have um, a lot of different kind of events, a lot of different kind of support for players of all levels. And I mean, I don't think anyone just starts like they don't place into silver and 2 months later they're immortal. That's like doesn't happen. um but like typically you play somewhere in the realm of iron to gold, and then it's kind of like a battle from there, assuming you don't have like thousands of hours of CSGO experience or something like that, or you don't come from another game like Overwatch, maybe highest levels there or something like that. But I know for myself, I placed Iron 1 in beta. I had no other FPS experience, and I basically had no idea what I was doing. Um, and that just continued on for the longest time. I ended up joining Galorants, and then browsing around what they had. They have like a learning program with coaches of varying levels. I think from like Plat 3 all the way up to Radiant, both in NA and EU to help out the players. They run a lot of different tournaments. When I started getting into it, they were running the Galorant Training Grounds, which was an iron to bronze division and a silver to gold division. And that's kind of where I got my foot started in the silver and gold division. I remember I trialed for a team. There was an interview, and then they told me that I wasn't quite what they were looking for. And at that moment, I decided, like, I'm just going to get really good at the game. So I ended up playing there for a while, and I've run into a lot of different people in that scene, that have kind of shown up in the Game Changers scene too. In the Gallant Training Ground, one of my teammates was Gompers. I don't know if you know who that is,
Yeah.
but she casts a lot of these other events, and that's kind of where I first met her. I've seen a lot of different people kind of come up from those tournaments, and the tournament series they had before. I don't remember what it was called, but I know a lot of the players got started there. So kind of Galorants, is kind of the foreground for when you're trying to get your foot in the door and get started. They put on the events like GCA, and they host a lot of the stuff like the Eve Ascension. The signups are done through Galorants. They do kind of bi-weekly in-houses, which is a safe place to get together to play in a not necessarily competitive environment, but like on stream, which is kind of fun, right? Because it's like everyone, they go in the tournament, and your first feature match, you're kind of nervous because you're on stream and everyone's going to watch you with that shot, and watch someone else get an ace against you. So it's like your heart's beating, and it's tough. So just even being able to play on camera can be kind of a big boon when you're getting started. As far as hyper competitive stuff, they don't really have a lot going on right now. They do have probably one of the main looking for team channels, and there's a channel for finding scrims or finding people to play with both in comp, but in this discussion more like an actual team. And you can find anyone from there's people who are like silver right now looking for teams, and there's also people that are like high immortal with like a ton of experience looking for teams. So it's kind of the spot for that. As far as KVL, that's run by I believe Knights, and I'll let Autumn kind of expand a bit more on that one.
KVL is really cool. Uh, it's kind of like inactive a lot of the time though, which sucks. But it's like less so like practice and more so like ranked, and just like you get to know everyone in the scene a little bit better. So I think like for people coming into the scene, KVL is actually like really good because you can meet people, right? Like you can see the people that you're playing against and talk to them and like socialize with them, and that's really fun and unique. So I think KVL is great because it allows just people within the scene to get to know each other and just have fun in like I guess it's competitive, but like a not really competitive environment, right? Like the no one's like s- sweating their butts off in KVL, like people are just there to have fun. Obviously, no one's throwing either. Don't ban me from KVL, please.
So non-threatening but competitive environment sounds like.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Wow. So that's amazing that those two opportunities are there. So one more so, or I guess both, for networking and kind of learning who's who in the scene, and then also Galorant's having, at least at one point, more tournaments and opportunities to grow. So Zoe, you mentioned that you kind of came from a lower elo and not having experience with like tactical shooters before. How many else, or who else on the team kind of had a similar ascension into competitive Valorant from like a lower elo or no experience at all?
I think me, Isla, SK, were you like low elo? I don't know when you started.
I was silver for a week. No, 2 days. Does
Isla,
that
you were
count?
low elo, right? Weren't me
Like
and you
low
both iron?
elo.
Yeah, we
But
were
Yeah,
both
I
I was
never
iron.
played
iron
CS:GO
too.
before.
I was iron 1. I hadn't played attack FPS. Marissa, where were you at when you started this game?
I was silver in beta, and for like from Act 1, Episode 1 to Episode 3, I was hardstuck plot, so.
Sheesh.
I was hard stuck plat. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And was Valorant your first FPS or like competitive esports title? Or so for those of you like that were hard stuck plot, was CS:GO or Overwatch like a thing beforehand?
I did used to play CS:GO. I had like 200 hours on it, but other than that, I didn't really have any other experience with shooters. I did end up playing Rust for a little bit, but I don't think that correlates to Valorant or CS. But Valorant was the first game that I took seriously and tried to go into the competitive scene with because I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I had never played attack shooter in like competitive before, but I was a pro Overwatch player for a while.
Interesting. So just a variety of experiences, but I'm just very inspired, especially those who have like no experience or even starting an iron and then being able to compete at a level that you all were able to do this past week with Game Changers Academy. So it seems like the resources and your hard effort are panning out, but there's still some work that can be done to make it a little bit more smoother. Sounds like.
Yeah.
So, as a team, you've talked a little bit about this, but do you all have some goals in mind or things that you need to work on in general before the next Game Changers Academy? Nothing too specific, but just general goals.
So as far as general goals go, I would say we need to work on close to everything, and we're doing that, but it's a slow process because one of the tough things is um, the things you don't get out of competitive Valorant. And when I say competitive, I mean ranked. You know, is teamwork typically, because I think we've all been in those games where your Phoenix is throwing a molly at you, or your Jet is lurking, and then you're having to entry as Killjoy or something along the lines of that. So it's like we have these habits that we build up so that we can climb up and comp, because if we play the way we're expected to, if your Reyna is AFK and spawn in a full buy round, and we all save with Reyna, right? Like, let's balance our economy here. Let's all save. We buy up next round. You'll lose the game. So we have things where sometimes you have to play in a way that you wouldn't normally play and probably shouldn't play, so that you can win 14 RRs like match MVP. So we have these habits that we've built up of, sometimes you got to take that peak to get the early pick, because if you don't, you're going to lose because you're the only one positive on your team. But in kind of like both a tourney environment, scrim environment, team environment, you need to change the way that you play. So I would say the biggest thing that we are focusing on right now is changing how we're playing as a team, how we're communicating as a team, because the communication in both comp and like official play is a little bit different, and just kind of learning how to play together with each other as a team, because like we said, this team's been together for a little over 3 weeks. You know, and even though a lot of us are friends or had been friends before, the synergy isn't quite the same, right? Maybe we're playing different roles, or we haven't played a specific map together, and it kind of, you know, leads to, you know, a little bit of a dissonance in kind of the way we play. So we're just focused on basically improving everything: agents, maps, fundamentals, communication, you name it. I won't go too deep into anything, but we know there's a lot of work to do, and we're definitely going to put in that work for the next big Game Changers event.
So you mentioned agents. Again, you don't have to be too specific, but how much? I noticed that Astra was a significant agent pick for your compositions. How much do the recent changes to Astra and then the other controllers kind of affect what your mindset is going into the next series?
I don't want to leak anything because we
fair.
do have ideas, and you know, but let's just say the controller meta's definitely changing things. To speak on another team last night in the Knights 2K that was streamed, we had Project X versus Moon Raccoons, and they were running, I believe, Brimstone on Bind, which, you know, I've just never really seen before. You know, it's primarily been an Astra map, and then you know, it was Omen and Brimstone on Ascent, which is, you know, typically also been Astra's playground. Whether that is just them trying out new things, treating the 2K as more of like a scrim, or whether or not that's kind of what we see play out, I'm not really sure. But I do think it's going to shake things up a little bit. But you know, Astra's still a pretty strong agent, so I just have no idea really what's going to happen. But my guess is it's not going to be only Viper on all the maps going forward. So
That's fair. Yeah. Just the games I was watching yesterday, a lot of things have changed and people are troubleshooting things, so something to look forward to. Well, Dart Monkeys, is there any plugs or shoutouts you want to make?
Shout out Zoe for answering all the questions because I can't speak.
Shout out
Yeah,
Zoe.
shout out Zoe. Shout out Zoe.
Wait.
Yeah, Jose.
I have a real shout out though. Shout out to Kurosu and Kami Yunus both for filling for us in Game Changers ACAD. It was a blast pugging with them, and they were really like fun, agreeable, just like high energy people, and that tourney was really fun, and it wouldn't have been possible to play without them.
True.
I have a few shout outs too, but I'll let everyone else go first, so I don't kind of be the primary one talking. SK, do you have any shout outs? Anyone in the scene you wanna
I don't
thank?
know anyone.
You don't know anyone? Unfortunate. Isla, what about you? Friends, people that got you started, you know, past teammates, current teammates, anything. Oh, you love Dart Monkeys too? I do too. Marissa, what about you?
Not really any shoutouts.
Okay,
We
I'll
have
go
the
ahead
Dart
and
Monkeys Twitter.
we do, yeah. Our
Envy,
Twitter
envy.
is like at Dart Monkeys and I think an underscore. But you can find it at really any of our Twitters, and if you go to our About Me section or whatever, you can find the link there. So my shout outs are to Galorants for one, giving us, you know, kind of everything they have. That's kind of, I think, led into Game Changers in general. Without Galorants, you know, I don't know if we would have a Game Changer scene. Shout outs to Riot. Thank you so much for supporting the Game Changer scene as much as you have and as much as you're going to do in the future. It's definitely something we've really appreciated. You know, currently, like I mentioned, I think earlier, we have a new logo coming, and that is at the hands of Clefairy from Man I Love Wogs.
Nice.
She's doing that art for us, so shout out to her. Her art is amazing. We're really excited to see the final project. Shout out to Junifor. She does a lot at Knights, and she is primarily the one that runs KVL Sakura. to anyone watching, KVL Sakura is open to all levels of players. You don't need to be Immortal, you don't need to be Radiant, you don't need to be Diamond. You could be, Silver 3, and you can play KVL. So if you are interested in that, find a way to reach out to Juna4, someone that knows Juna, and just let her know you'd want an invite, and I'm sure she'd be happy to oblige. I know there was more. Oh yeah, shout out to SK for being amazing. SK streams, by the way, so go check out her stream. She has a really good YouTube channel too. She's an amazing player, and she went from Silver to Immortal in 300 hours, so that's pretty crazy. Shout outs to Autumn for being such a good IGL and friend. Helping me learn a lot of things. Autumn basically being such a good IGL, we have a very similar view of the game, so it makes coaching kind of easy. Shoutouts to Marissa for being a good friend, a good controller. Shoutouts to Isla for being probably the best duelist, except when we're on Texas, and then you have 1,000 ping, and such a good friend. And shoutouts to Run It Back for letting us be here. We really appreciate it.
Shout out Jude too.
And shout out to
Our
Jude.
fifth that's not here, and they're the greatest senti of all time, and they're lovely to have around, and yeah, they're amazing.
Great. Well, Dart Monkeys, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. It was a pleasure getting to know you, and we wish you all the best of luck for your upcoming tournaments, especially the upcoming Game Changers series. And so definitely check out Dart Monkeys in their future tournaments, as well as the socials that were mentioned and the socials in the description below. So thank you for watching, and catch you next time.